Hello, and welcome back to Maya's Reviews, a book podcast and blog. If you're new here, welcome, and I hope you stick around. I promise I'll try to make it worth your time. Before I get started today, I do have news on my schedule. I know in the last episode where I reviewed The Twin Paradox, which if you haven't listened to that episode, go check it out, I said that I would be trying to do at least one review and one episode per week. As of right now, with my schedule, I'm thinking I'm going to bump that up to 2 reviews a week and 2 episodes a week. Some of the episodes and reviews might be overlapping. So, for example, the one I'm doing today, its review is also going to be posted today. Or already has. No promises it'll work out for the entirety of July, but that's what I'm planning on for right now. I do have underneath the podcast page on my site, mayagreviews.wordpress.com, I did put an episode index. So I have my review index now and the episode index. And while I only have 2 episodes out right now, I'm planning on doing more. So I wanted to have that set up for the future. And underneath that, currently, there is a future episodes section where I've listed all of the ones that I'm planning on doing in the near future. Obviously, I'm going to be doing more than that, but that's what I've planned currently. So you can check there to see future episodes that I'm going to do. I do have them in order of how I think I'm going to do them. I just don't know when I'm going to record or post them. So that has yet to be decided, but as of right now, those are the ones I'm doing. And for today's review, I will be reviewing the first novella in the Augment Saga, The Re-Emergence by Alan Dell. I'd like to thank Alan Dell for providing me with an arc of this novel in exchange for an honest review. All quotes are taken from The Re-Emergence by Alan Dell. There's also a little bit of a trigger warning. In the novel, there is death and some violence, so if you do not want to read about that, maybe this book isn't for you. I rated The Re-Emergence 5 out of 5 stars overall, so everything from plot, setting, characters, writing, and memorability were all 5 out of 5 stars. It was perfect. My quick review: with world building, characters, and plot that is only comparable to Star Wars, Alan Dell's The Re-Emergence, a novella in the Augment Saga, is a promising start to an original and imaginative series that will no doubt stand the test of time. The novel was independently published at 136 pages on May 30th, 2020, and it is a part of the Augment Saga and is a sci-fi novel. The first novel in the series, From the Grave of the Gods, is expected to release in late 2021. Alan Dell is also planning on another novella, The Flight of the Aurora, and 3 more novels in the series. You can actually view a full list of Dell's plans for his series on his site, and I will link that page below. Just a heads up, I'm going to pronounce pretty much everything wrong. So, the book's description: a strange probe from a long-forgotten satellite network appears in the Pori star system. Its message, a dire warning signaling the return of an ancient mythological evil. Imperator Decora Coruscant and the crew of the Keshkul are sent to determine the probe's origin and find that the satellite is not as they had expected. Coruscant trusts the satellite's data, but not everyone aboard agrees. Tensions rise and loyalties are tested as they track down the source of the signal. Thrust into conflict, the crew of the Keshkul must chase their foe across the galactic arm and save their home from certain destruction. So, I probably pronounced everything there wrong. So, sorry about that. But The Re-Emergence, you can tell it's a sci-fi. It's just written in such a way that it's this out-of-the-box, traveling through space kind of story. So, the characters. Okay, so there's not a lot of characters, but there are quite a few important ones. So, the Pori, which that is spelled Phori. Sorry if Oh, and with an apostrophe, I think is how next to the P. So don't know how to pronounce that, but I'm trying my best. So I'm 99% sure that none of the. See, okay, is it Piori or Fiore? I'm gonna say Piori because why not? So the Piori are definitely not human. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't think I am necessarily described as having claws and feathers. I mean, if you have feathers and claws, can I meet you because you're awesome? But personally, I don't, so I'm gonna assume the Piori aren't human. The novella centers around the journey of the Kashkol, which is a ship full of the Piori, which are aliens. And Imperator Decora Coruscant, or the commanding officer of the ship, is among this group, and so is his niece, Knight Rosny Lair, is also aboard the ship, and actually becomes friends with 17, which is the satellite whose consciousness has evolved to the point where he is literally a person without a body, and he's the person that sends, I don't know, the alert to this empire to tell them that, like, hey, you got some visitors, let's maybe gear up with our alien guns. Also among the ship is Squire Ashvan Tisnell, I believe. But with the current threat of the Ancient Wanderers, which is the group of aliens that 17 detected, he doesn't trust 17. I'm pretty sure do they call him Sev? I forget. But this satellite he does not trust, which, I mean, it was probably smart to be cautious, but he kind of takes it too far. Like I said, the Piori, pretty much all the characters in this novel are not human. They're various alien species. And Dell wrote his characters to be so intriguing and yet allowed the reader to become attached to the characters, and cheer them on through their struggles and triumphs. I mean, like I said, I don't have feathers and claws, but I was rooting for the characters to kind of overcome their struggles. The story changes perspectives throughout the novel. So usually it shifts from Decora, Rosny, Ashan, or 17. And this not only allows for multiple angles of the story, but also allows the reader to get to know the characters better. My favorite character was 17. He's just this little, adorable little satellite, but by no means doesn't mean the rest were awful. All of the Kestrel's crew are there for one another and are determined to protect not only the Empire, but also themselves. So a lot of them are just selfless and genuinely kind to each other. I mean, besides Ashram, but that's besides the point. And the writing and setting. So the author just has that style of writing that you just automatically think it's a sci-fi. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just, you know what I'm talking about? It's like that, just that, what is it? Like the certain way that things are described that you're like, oh, that's a sci-fi. You just kind of get that impression, which it is a sci-fi, so that's kind of a good thing that it feels like one. But it was very descriptive, despite everything being unfamiliar and unlike anything I had heard of previously, because it's alien technology and, like, you're in a spaceship in space. And I haven't had that experience, but maybe you have. Despite that, I could picture everything and kind of see that in my head. Admirable mention, the author also included a glossary in which terms, timekeeping, units of measurement, and ranks of the Imperial fleet are all described. It was really helpful because you can kind of piece together as the story goes along, oh, this word that isn't human equates to this. But it was definitely helpful to look at that afterward to kind of reaffirm what I thought I knew. So, and Dell has just constructed this earth-shattering universe. The amount of thought that took place to bring this to life, I cannot imagine. Because this world that Dell has created is truly spectacular. I mean, he clearly sat down and worked out, here's the history of the Biori and the ancient wanderers and all of them. It was perfectly done. The world building is excellent in this novel. Interested in starting a podcast? I bet you haven't heard of Anchor, an app and site that makes it super easy to create your own. Not only is it free, but Anchor also allows you to make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Anchor distributes your podcast for you to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more platforms. Anchor has creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone and computer. It's everything you need all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started today. I believe that the novel does take place at least somewhere near our solar system. I mean, the Biori travel differently because, they're far more technologically advanced than humans are. But I believe it takes place at least somewhere near our solar system. At the end of the novel, there's like this transmission of this person. Either it was Kansas or Nevada or I probably got that wrong, but who is calling someone and being like, hey, there's like 2 comets or meteors in the sky, which are really 2 alien ships. So it does take place in our reality. It's not, Earth doesn't not exist altogether, but it's definitely not, at least this novella doesn't take place on Earth. And the Re-Emergence was actually fairly paced, and it wasn't slow. Despite the fast-paced movement of the Biori fighting the ancient wanderers, there was some time for me to just sit down and go, whoa, let's decompress and just take this all in real quick, because it was stressful. I was reading, and I was like, oh, that's not good. A quick rundown of the novel without spoilers. Unit 17, or 17, is a part of this vast network of satellites that were created by the Biori after a war with the ancient wanderers, a long time ago, to alert them of intruders or attacks. And basically, the Biori have either lied or forgotten their history and not told people that the ancient wanderers are very much still alive, and people didn't really know about this satellite network in space to alert them. So when the Biori get this kind of alert, the Keshkul, which is full of Biori citizens, is sent into space to go kind of analyze what is this satellite, because they don't think the threat is real at that point, I believe. But 17 spots that threat, which is an ancient wanderer ship, and sends an alert to the Empire, and the Keshkul embarks on a mission to survey the potential threat. But they were not prepared for the ancient wanderers not only being alive, but also powerful, if not more powerful than them. And they kind of discovered this long-forgotten past, and it drags the Keshkul and its occupants into a drawn-out battle against the ancient wanderers, which could eventually lead to the downfall of their empire if they don't stop this ship from getting back to its entire fleet, because they had a hard time kind of trying to take down one of these ships. So an entire fleet of those ships is probably not going to be a good thing. And they're unprepared for a war with the ancient wanderers at this point. The ancient wanderers are already pretty much beat them in the first war. They don't really need a second one. The Re-Emergence was expertly written to keep the reader turning the pages till 4 a.m. like I did. The events described in the novel are simultaneously breathtaking, worrisome, and stress-inducing. Very, very stress-inducing. The amount of times I had to remind myself that the Re-Emergence was a novel and I could take a deep breath was unreal. It was enthralling and I loved it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Star Wars and other science fiction, so this was kind of a breath of fresh air because it's so unique. One of the quotes from the novel actually is, "So here it is at last, the creature of our nightmares, the beast that haunts the dreams of hatchlings all over Bioresh in the flesh." So clearly something isn't going good there, but this novella was really, truly amazing, and I'm so glad that the author reached out to me and sent it because it's just fantastic. And while it's a quick read, it's a wonderful backstory to the future Augment Saga, which I'm desperate to read. I want to read it. It was fascinating, but also so well contrived that I wouldn't hesitate to see a movie adaptation of this novella or series if the chance arose. I would be the first person in theaters watching this saga as a movie, if possible. I highly recommend that you read this novel, especially if you are a fan of sci-fi. It's extraordinary and it's really well done. While this was a shorter review, because the novella is shorter, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did enjoy my review of the Re-Emergence, the first novella in the Augment Saga by Alan Dell, please check out my blog, Maya Reviews, at mayagreviews.wordpress.com, and my name is spelled Maya. You can also find me at Maya the Bookworm on Twitter, Goodreads, TikTok, BookBub, and Book Sirens. I'm also on Tumblr at Maya Reviews. If you want me to review your book, or even just want to reach out to me, you can email me at mayagbookreviews@gmail.com. I do ask that if you are reaching out to me in regards to a review request or anything of the sort, that you check out my review policy on my blog first, then email me. Thank you for listening, and happy reading.